Welcome back, everyone. Beautiful souls, it's day 23, and we are talking about self compassion as rebellion against shame. Today's topic might be my favorite one in this whole journey. The place where you get to be compassionate with yourself. And this must become a practice, daily self care routine. Um, it's not an indulgence. It's not being too soft. It's really an act of saying, I am who I am, and I am worthy of claiming that. Because in a world that we live in that is about profits and being critical to yourself around that subject, always choosing love is really a radical act that you can do for your own freedom. I highly recommend it. So let's begin. Shame and self compassion cannot coexist. It's kind of like what I say about there are two emotions in the world, fear or love. You're in one or you're in the other. Shame and self compassion cannot coexist. Shame is saying to you, it's whispering, you are not enough. Self compassion whispers back, you are human and you are worthy. Just want to be on that last one. That's the scale I want to be on. And that simple shift right there is where transformation begins. There was a pioneer of self compassion research. I think her name was Dr. Kristen Neff. And she defines it as treating yourself with the same kindness and care that you'd offer a friend in pain. That's what compassion is, self compassion. It's not self pity, it's not letting yourself off the hook. It's the opposite, it's taking full ownership of your humanity. It's taking full ownership of your humanity. Can you feel the difference in that? Here's what's revolutionary about it. When you practice self compassion, you literally change your brain. It is in the neuroscience. You deactivate the amygdala, and that's the part of your brain that triggers the fight or flight response. And you activate the prefrontal cortex, which allows reasoning, empathy, and calm. That's an important switch to make in your brain. In other words, when you soothe yourself instead of scolding yourself, your body goes from threat to safety. Your body releases oxytocin, and that's a bonding hormone. Your heart rate slows, your nervous system relaxes. You begin to feel safe in your own skin again. Wow, and that is so important. That is such a big part of freedom. And that's when real healing can begin, when you can start to understand what it means to connect to the authentic self and be able to express that, because these other things aren't standing in your way. But here's why I describe this as a rebellion. Most of us are not taught to be gentle with ourselves. Why not? It's such an interesting question to me. We learn that toughness equals strength, guilt equals morality, and perfection earns you love. I definitely learned all of those lessons from a patriarchal source, my father, who was a sports coach, and our lives revolved around that particular training. Many women inherit a cultural script that says, if I just punish myself enough, I'll become better. That's how we get acclimated to working in a patriarchal workforce, right? Put your head down, work hard, you'll make it. Well, I did that, and I made it to 35 and had a heart attack. So that's another long conversation. But shame doesn't make you better, it makes you smaller, truly. Maybe it cuts you off from your learning or your creativity or your ability to be open. You know, your own essence wanting to come through, the very qualities that help you grow and move forward. Those are the things that it takes from you. So that's why it's so important to release shame. Think about it this way. If a child, your child, any child, came home crying and they had made a mistake, would you say, you're worthless, you always screw up, everyone's disappointed in you? No, of course you would not say that. You would say something like, "That was hard. I know you were trying. I love you, even when you mess up." And that's how I want you to talk to yourself. Your little person inside that never heard those words, every time those feelings of shame come up, turn to her and speak to her with that kind of kindness. Just imagine yourself offering that tenderness to the child inside of you. It just feels good just saying those words. You bring alive, really, truly, the part of yourself, that feminine power that holds you through the transformation rather than condemning you for it. Right? It's what feminine is all about. Uplifting others, inspiring others, holding them through their tough times. She says that when women stop being their own harshest critic and start being their own greatest allies, they're going to awaken a new dimension of creative power. And that's the ability to bring love where you used to be in judgment. I lived that one. I wrote a book called Always Choose Love back in 2015, and that's what it was all about, learning how to bring love to everything you do and say, as well as to the outside forces. That's a journey in itself. That's really part of the Shiro's journey, and I hope you're all joining on the Shiro's Journey group. That's where we're doing our growing, where we're talking and asking questions. But here's the truth: self compassion is not passive. It's not saying everything's fine. It's saying everything, even when everything is not fine, I will not abandon myself. That's the rebellion. Even when everything is not fine, I'm not going to abandon myself. I will stand behind myself. When you refuse to speak to yourself in a cruel voice, in a cruel manner, when you stop warring on your own reflection, when you meet your pain with gentleness instead of shame, you're breaking the oldest chain there is. The oldest chain there is. Ladies, you're saying to shame, you no longer get to run the show. Self compassion turns the inner battlefield into a sanctuary. I love that line right there. Self compassion turns the inner battle, fighting with your ego, into a sanctuary. It becomes a sacred space that you hold for yourself and for others. And it teaches your body that safety really feels like. And once your body knows that safety, shame will lose its grip. So let's do a little reflective practice. Take a slow, steady breath. In for 4, out for 8. It's always a relaxing breath that you can easily do anytime during the day when you feel tense. Think of a moment this week when you were hard on yourself, if in fact you were. I'm hoping you're getting to a place where that is less and less. But maybe you made a mistake at work, or maybe you snapped at someone you loved. Maybe you just looked in the mirror and you thought unkind thoughts. Those are all things that are hard on the inner self. So just acknowledge it. Think about it, acknowledge it. If you're working in your journal, you can write it down. And ask yourself, if a dear friend had told me the same story, what would I say to her? If a dear friend told me that she just experienced that in her day, this is her story, what would you say to her? Write those words down and say them to yourself. Oftentimes, the voice that you use with others is the voice that your own soul is longing to hear. Remember that. Now, in your workbook, journal, if you don't have one, go to the Cheryl's Journey. There's one in there you can download free. Write yourself a short note that begins with this: Dear one, I see how hard you're trying. I see the effort, the exhaustion sometimes, the heart that still shows up for yourself every day. You don't have to earn a rest. You don't have to prove your worth. You are enough. You are worthy right here, right now. Go back and listen to those words, write them down, and let them land inside of yourself. Feel them in your body and your being. Don't rush this part. I'm going to say it one more time. I see how hard you're trying. I see the effort, the exhaustion, the heart that still shows up every day. You don't have to earn a rest. You don't have to prove your worth. You are enough right here, right now. These words will speak directly to your nervous system, teaching it a new truth that love is safe. This is how we rewrite our story, not through willpower, but through tenderness. So, today I want you to remember that gentleness is strength. The way you speak to yourself determines the world in which you live. And when you bring compassion to your own pain, you become the woman who no longer passes shame down the line. You become the one who ends it. It sends a shiver right down my spine. It ends with us, the shame. Tomorrow we'll talk about reclaiming the desire, the power to want without apology. But for today, just rest in this idea. You don't have to fix yourself to love yourself. Love is the fixing. See you tomorrow. Thanks for coming.